Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lost Kingdoms. Today it's just going to be me, because I'm going to be visiting one of my least favorite levels in the game, the Bridge of Sarvon. It is not my least favorite due to its difficulty, or my least favorite due to any particular notably challenging puzzles, or any frustrating monster design. It's just boring. It's a walk across a bridge. The Bridge of Sarvon is exactly what you thought it might be by the name. It's nothing but a walk across a single platform to get from one side of a river to another. Why this deserved a level is beyond me, but perhaps they thought that the transition between what can ostensibly be called land masses deserved some sort of mention. We are catching an evil eye here because we need to transform it eventually, and there's no guarantee that I'll get one apart from the chest that I forget about later in the level. But moving on from the monsters briefly, I would like to comment on the level itself. The name of the level is the Bridge of Sarvon, and considering I had little to nothing else to talk about during this episode, since the red fairies for once provide absolutely nothing of worth, well I say for once, but then what if they truly provided of worth otherwise? I decided to look up the etymology of the name. Now I can only assume that the game developers for this game decided to put names in that they thought would not be used in any other type of place. The Grail Castle, the Kendari people, the Bridge of Sarvon. However, Sarvon actually turns out is an actual place located in Azerbaijan. It's a simple township, or if this is to believe some sort of actual merely province, which leads me to believe that perhaps one of the developers had a bad experience in Sarvon to have made a level with its name that was so poorly designed. As for the other half of the name, I have been told that a bridge is a structure built to span physical obstacles such as a body of water, valley, or road for the purpose of providing passage over the obstacle. Designs of bridges vary upon the function, the nature of the terrain where the bridge is constructed, the material used to make it, and the funds available to build it, none of which explains why this level is terrible. The only notable puzzle this level has to its name is this puzzle right here. If you want to get across it easily, flip the switch to the left once to the right. That is to say, the switch to the left, turn to the right once. You will require one magic stone to do so, and in doing so you will solve the puzzle and clear the level. However, there is also a treasure chest here, and due to a natural propensity discussed last episode I have for trying to get every bit of treasure no matter how terrible, I will be acquiring this chest in due time. However, as you may have noticed, the puzzle is likewise terrible. It involves flipping the switches based on the colors beneath the bridges. However, the level is so washed out that the colors can be very difficult to distinguish. And while it is possible to distinguish it and work out the puzzle, you're best off just flipping switches until you end up solving it by accident. And indeed, that's exactly what I did, which is why that cut was there. You get a mind flare for your trouble, and considering we already had multiple mind flares, that makes that puzzle completely worthless. However, if for some reason you failed to get the Mind Flayer card at the end of the sewers, I recommend you get it here. We also acquire another carbuncle, who, for the sake of knowledge, I decided to look up the origin of the name. Contrary to what you may have thought previously, the name carbuncle is not referring to the horrible condition involving abscesses within the body, but rather carbuncle is simply referring to a cut garnet gemstone, the name probably deriving from a Final Fantasy creature and summon of the same name. You may be asking me why this commentary is dry. It's because the level is dry. There is nothing here. We are over a body of water, but there is nothing substantial to talk about with this level. It is boring. It is empty. There is nothing here. The fairy says that the King of Kendari is eccentric. She thinks he's cuckoo. Fairies are female for some reason. I don't know, Legend of Zelda kind of just ingrained that over the years with all the great fairies and whatnot. But in any case, the fact of the matter is that this level did not need to be here. This level is padding with a little bit of hidden content and a single puzzle to its name, and otherwise a single trek across a bridge. I loathe and despise this level for simply existing. But I guess if there is any benefit to this level whatsoever, it's the fact that it doesn't last long. Adding to my gripes about this level is the fact that the enemy design is particularly frustrating. Gold butterflies will show up throughout the level, which slow your movement. Chimeras have large amounts of HP, but are otherwise fairly stupid, so they're just boring to fight. Meanwhile, evil eyes are actually fairly interesting. They prevent their allies from being hit with any sort of status ailment, which can actually be fairly useful in multiplayer if you ever play that sort of thing, or against boss fights that would use some sort of nasty condition against you. With that said, we also acquire a Siren card. Siren card is fairly worthless, not really much we can do with it. With that said, if there's any benefit to the level, it's the fact that it's mercifully short. Though I may have already mentioned that, this level is already draining upon my ability to focus. We are going to demonstrate a mechanic we haven't used thus far because I've never felt the need to, and that is running from combat. If you push your face against the edge of the arena long enough, you get to leave the battle. And, thankfully, if you push your face against the edge of the bridge long enough, you get to leave the level. I only get 3 stars here, but that doesn't really matter to us because of the fact that this level doesn't really have any cards of worth either. They couldn't think of any particular boss fight, so they just had you walk to the end of the bridge uneventfully and then gather 3 cards based on the enemies within the level. You can acquire a Siren, an Evil Eye, and a Gold Butterfly. The Siren can actually be encountered on this level, I think, however I very rarely do. With that said, we are across the bridge, the level is over, and we do have a cutscene to go see. We do have to turn in some fairies to Alexander, but we don't get anything for them, so I'm just going to be cutting straight to the cutscene in the castle. Upon entering the castle, we hear very small voice clips in which we see a very fat and... is corpulent a good word? I guess it would be a bit redundant, but... a very corpulent king telling us to leave because he doesn't want to believe that the Black Fog may soon be at the gates of his own castle. As we can see, the Kendari are very opulent, and this is actually... well, it's almost a plot point in the second game. I'm not going to bring it up much, but I did finish it, and suffice to say that the Kendari went from being kind of jerks in this game to being what could almost be called the outright antagonists of the second, which I think is an interesting transition from wealth and apathy to downright supervillainy. In any case, the soldier has told us that their runestone has been stolen and that the royal guard pursued the thief to a mine, and naturally it is up to our stalwart hero to go retrieve the runestone from the mine post-haste. So, next level, we actually go to some place that's halfway interesting, the Ypres Mines, whose name is not based on anything I could actually find, and whose level design is actually something more interesting than a straight line across a river. I'll see you all then.